Alex Ansary here, July 3rd, 2017. We're going to be taking a closer look at Brief Glance, Free Flow without a script, independence from society, independence from the system, independence from Babylon. You take the person out of Babylon, you can't necessarily take Babylon out of the person. How are you choosing to deprogram from this system? That includes healing. How am I choosing to become more independent and to heal from the adverse effects of society on me without focusing on just the wound and just spinning and spinning? Much of society is doing this. You can observe the Trump supporters, you can observe Antifa. Are they talking about anything of significance at all regarding issues, regarding economy, regarding how long can the U.S. military continue to finance its Middle Eastern wars? Are you hearing about these things? Are you hearing about the repercussions for missiles firing down upon Syria? You're not. Okay, it's more, let's get ready to rumble. How many videos have I seen? Thousands, probably hundreds in just the recent months. And it's a point where it's like overdose. I don't want to watch anymore. I want my mind independent from even the energy that I'm feeling intuitively from these battle royales in the streets of downtown Portland. I mean, it's getting too close to home, but no pun intended. And being that I was born in Portland, Oregon, energetically, as I look at that stuff and comment on it, yeah, I'm tapped into that energy frequency. I can feel it. And it is ugly. It is ugly, ugly. So it's like independence. We should be focused on healthy things, reading more. So when I'm at the thrift store, and actually went to thriftbooks.com, it's not a commercial, but I did spend $22 on 4 books, including Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I think is a very entertaining read. When I first read it, I read it overnight. I also purchased Solar Rain by Mitch Batros from Earth Changes Media. I also ordered a book that I've been looking to get for a while, Unrestricted Warfare, to look at the alleged Chinese plot to take out the kneecaps of America at some point in the future, using also proxies like Osama bin Laden and others. It's not a very popular theory, but it's been around for some time. And then a book by Tamim Ansari, West of Kabul, East of New York, which is a book written by my father's cousin about his early years here in the United States, the 1970s, and his view on the situation in Afghanistan. So basically, I'm constantly now looking for ways to continue learning and learning outside of the world of the internet. And the internet has been a powerful tool. Without the internet, some people wouldn't be awake to anything. And they admit this constantly on social media websites like Facebook. But the greater reality is Facebook's not where the revolution is. It's the kennel, it's the digital ghetto, right? That they've kind of influenced people to go in. And my comment section shutdown has been a protest to people commenting on my work being the only place, that being the only place for it. I find ourselves socially engineered to be bots. If you have no interest in commenting, I'm not complaining anymore. I give up promoting my forum. I realize unless you can comment down below, you just won't comment, period, or you'll send an email. Why not join a good forum? I understand. Give it up, Alex. Just give it up. I give up now. Forget it then. Forget it, right? If we can't get people independent from a social media ghetto comment section, how are we going to be independent of the larger picture? So I'm freeing myself. I'm becoming more independent from a certain expectation. Not completely. I'm not completely there yet. I'm not ready to shut up yet. I want to keep talking about these things while I'm living independent from the grid, but I want to free myself. I want a new sense of independence from this expectation that a certain amount of people are going to get it. So I look at the internet, right? It's like this flaming double-edged sword. Be careful handling that. You might get burned. I want to impact, and it is a hive mind consciousness. And don't you forget it. The question is, have you actually awoken to that and broken free of the hive mind? That's what I want to know. Let's talk about This Way of the Spiritual Warrior. Yeah, there's that book by Dan Millman, and there's the other book, Everyday Enlightenment. And sometimes I'll just pick a random page in a book and I may start reading. Inner Peace and Simple Reality, Roadmap in the Realms of Thought. In his Republic, Plato describes a group of people living deep within a dark cavern, far from the light of day, seen only in their shadows, cast by firelight upon the walls. These dark shapes are their only reality, because they have never ventured outside the cave, outside the box. Indeed, they are unaware that there is an outside. Truman Show. I may actually be watching that DVD that I bought for $1 recently for the third or fourth time. Plato's allegory of the cave goes on to describe how someone escapes from the cave into the sunlight of the real world. Having seen the light, he returns to the cave and tries without much success to tell the others in prison there about the real world outside. It's like my attempts to tell certain people in the city that you can live off the grid, but you may have to sacrifice some pleasures of the flesh. You may just have to rough it. But, sometimes you have to lose your job or money to realize, yes, you can do what some people think they need thousands to do. Just got to be willing to rough it a little bit. That's just only one example. Going back to the book, Plato's allegory of the cave goes on to describe how someone escapes from the cave into the sunlight of the real world. Having seen the light, he returns to the cave and tries without much success to tell the others imprisoned there about the real world outside. The real world. This is the real world. His words make no sense to anyone but a few adventurous souls. I feel like the words that I'm saying right now only literally doesn't matter that I've been doing this 12 years and that I've reached millions of people. Right now, at this moment that you guys are going to watch this on Monday, July 3rd, 2017, maybe several dozen out of the 100 of you watching this video will be of that adventurous soul that gets it, while the rest, the bulk of the audience that will only comment in the comment section, right? Just commenting only when that is open and going with what's easy. That's the masses. There's only a few of you. I mean, it's literally less than 10% that are at that vibration or frequency of getting it. Compassion and empathy. The others are just watching for sheer entertainment and selfish purposes. The few adventurous souls who dare to venture with him upward into the unknown towards a brighter, shining reality. We are each living within the caves of our dimmed and distorted perceptions, seeing not the world but our own minds. Tame your mind, show how to grasp reality as it is, beyond the shadow play of thought. Reality is not what you think. Reality is not what you think. Sometimes people that have been watching me for years assume this guy's attacking us. Reality is not what you think. I'm criticizing the programming. I don't know you. Criticizing a race? Are you serious? No, I don't hate the background of my mother or my mother's family. See, some people are new to my content and they don't realize there's a much larger tapestry behind my story and behind how I've come to my ideas. But it's much more important for me to have a smaller audience of people that accept me for me and allow me to have my views than to have a large audience, even people throwing money at me. Hey, Alex, I like what you said about this. Here's $300. Will you just talk about this and stop talking about this? Don't talk about the Alex, I'm going to send you the email. I didn't like your video. All right, Alex, I can't support you anymore. And it's like many people in the past, right? Maybe I seem to be more manipulative. Well, that was also before I got my own land. And now a sense of desperation has been lifted from me. I no longer have to go from spot to spot to spot. I can literally, for now, remain here. And I enjoy that luxury one day at a time. But I got to be honest, I did not come upon this current luxury that so many others do not have by being someone that I wasn't, by being dependent on women and their love and their acceptance, by feeling that I needed a certain amount of money or a certain survival skill, right? It's not about having all these like Bear Grylls. It's not about that. um, there was a certain amount of faith that I put into this, and just knowing, even when I was putting all those hundreds to thousands before I was able to invest in land, it was going in the RV and I was going from spot to spot. I just kept my focus on the goal. And I realized that eventually I would achieve my goal, but I would do it alone and I would do it with very little support along the way. And then I saw support for myself actually kind of plummet after I came on the grid, off the grid, and came here. And I'm thinking to myself, are people not happy for me? Is that what it is? After years of seeing me struggle? Is there a sense of jealousy? Maybe a sense of anger that I don't deserve this, that I shouldn't have this, that maybe I should be in the grid? And is it happening to them on a subconscious level, not on a conscious level, to where they're not consciously thinking this, maybe not partially, but probably partially a little bit? A sense of, well, Alex, why would people not support what I'm doing now? Why watch silently? And so, yeah, these are things that I think about on this Independence Day. There is no freedom for me at all if I cater to what other people want. I know that in my heart, I aim to speak the truth about what I'm seeing about our society, concerning our society. I see certain flaws within our social construct that's actually leading to our demise. And I will even get literal and talk about invasion theories in response to America Destroyed by Design. While China and Russia pretend to be the good guys, they're really just waiting in the wings for the signal. As the flare goes up, as the signal is sent, and then they move. And then America will never be the same again. It's not easy for me to face the persecution from the society, whether you admit it or not. But there is no place at the table in our society for a guy like me that's kind of on the lower end of YouTube, who's talking about a coming third world war. On the left and the right, they want to stay in their little box that it's just about Donald Trump being the devil or Donald Trump being our savior. But if you're coming at it from a perspective of these are controlled like gang warfare tactics, Crips and Bloods. We talked in the last video, I discussed South Central LA, the Crips and the Bloods, uh, behind the scenes receiving funding, guns, drugs from our own government, and that destabilization, and how that's being mirrored in the Middle East, but we're also seeing the mirroring of it in political groups on the left and the right, where they are literally there responding to a programming to go fight the enemy. But you actually go down to those rallies, or like me, maybe you've watched hundreds and you've just felt sick watching Americans scream about wanting to hurt other Americans or hurting other Americans or beating other Americans. People that are supposedly for immigrants and, oh, we're the left, we're so kind, like literally cracking open skulls with bike locks and just seeing that over and over and over. And then seeing the hatred on the other side that does exist and the white supremacy that is tolerated. So you're literally seeing like a fire feeding on itself. It's like, whoa, you don't want a fire to start to begin with in the wilderness. And by the way, it's fire season. The fire risk is very high. So there's no fires. Doesn't matter if people came all the way up here from Texas. No fires. A small little fire can get out of control and burn down the house. Literally, a fire somewhere else in Colorado consumed hundreds of acres. It's amazing that only one house went down, but fire season really just began as we wait for the monsoon to come in to stabilize things. Okay, where's the monsoon rain of our society to come in and stabilize the Civil War fire risk? All you see are people running around acting like they got water, but they got gasoline. I was saying, whoa, whoa, what are you doing with that can of glue? It's like, yeah, we got a fire. I thought I would bring some gasoline and pour it in the fire. Shouldn't we fight fire with fire? And there is a mentality that's literally fight fire with fire. and people are just told day in and day out, those people over there, they're waging jihad against us. We just have to move to the next level of this extermination game. On the other end, they're going, okay, so you guys are Nazis. You guys got to die. And they're responding to the fire, right, from the far right, but saying, okay, you guys are Nazis. You need to die. They may not be good people themselves. As I've said in other videos, Donald Trump, for a lot of people, he's there. Oh, you're the bad man. We're the good people. We're superheroes. And literally on the left and right, you have these freaks running around with helmets and capes. And it's like, must I continue to go on to illustrate the point, a point that I think you get. So, what are you doing to free yourself from this propaganda? Are you free from the left right paradigm? Are you free from the left right paradigm? Are you free from thinking all the evil of the world comes from Donald Trump? Are you free from thinking that Donald Trump is not of the new world order? Are you able to see like the larger picture here? Or is it still just this theoretical thing? Independence. Moving on to relationships. Another thing that comes to mind during these summer seasons, especially if you're male with a somewhat healthy libido and you're single, is sexuality and emotional loneliness that may come about from one person going their own way and not being a slave to their body's physical cravings. That may come upon certain epochs or cycles in line with the sun. And I would even say geomagnetic storms, which are triggered by coronal mass ejections that are fired from the sun, affecting our geomagnetic field, boosting physical testosterone and perhaps hormones in some females, boosting libido, sexual interest, and other aspects of life, wars, battles, civil unrest, and also some other positive, um, mindful expressions of the solar energy, creative projects, art, drawing, dancing, traveling, human activity, all that it encompasses. We go through periods of increased energy on the planet, especially after a period in which there hasn't been a whole lot of geomagnetic storming or solar flares. But just discussing the sun itself, this period of June, July, having memories of being in the city, the body, my physical body, felt more under stress in urban environments as a single man because of all the what some people may call eye candy stimulation, but the actual response to being in an urban environment that on a spiritual environmental level, despite Portland's progressive sustainable like counterfeit dollar bill thrown around as counterfeit as a $3 bill, it almost seemed that I was responding and in the sense of loneliness, and I could see just the very out of balance behavior from some others and crimes committed in Portland. It's like they're responding to environmental degradation, a polluted river, uh, coping with loneliness, stepping back from society, going into a natural environment, dealing with a smaller population, a population that is still, as I go to town, maybe 2 hours one day, 3 hours another, sit by the river, write a little bit. Not a whole lot of things. Go to the grocery store. Not a whole lot of things that I do in town. I start to see the same people over and over and over. It's a small town, but it's very much just a micro of the larger population. As far as a discussion as to which society is more unconscious, this or Portland, despite the zombie apocalypse ongoing in Portland you would find more open minds. However, I stepped back from that for a greater freedom and independence, stepping back from a sense of camaraderie, a sense of, but see, I didn't have much of it when I left. So my independent nature has kind of led, all roads have kind of led to this, where I'm at now, if you catch my drift. Like the path to going off grid when we started 10 years ago. If someone's going to maintain strong energetic cords to a city or a place, if that's not really their tribe, how are they truly free? This is a process that I've been on. And I mentioned doing a cable access show in Portland. This is going to continue probably throughout the rest of the year. If there isn't like some sort of response from the Portland audience, I'll send things to their cable access on occasion, but it may not be a weekly series. This may just be something that I'm doing for the remainder of the year because I like the idea, frankly, of being on cable TV and sharing a message with complete strangers that were not planning to find my show. And perhaps I may continue it, but I've definitely worked hard to sever a number of cords between myself and Portland and being accepted by their society. Um, when you move away from a place and that's actually your hometown, and there's other factors involved, like kind of being on your own for years and years, it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight to completely step back from the only place that you really could call home and to go to another part of America where you're a complete stranger to everyone and you feel like you look different. When you're in that type of experience, which I am, and you're in an area where a certain amount of people don't like newcomers, it's going to be challenging to be an outsider and to not be completely European in background, where half is just not good enough. It's How will I keep this commentary minimal? But for me to be independent and to be free would almost seem to be necessary. It was necessary for me to feel that sense of alienation from society so great to where it's like hands up in the air, whatever work I'm going to do and all that money or resources I'm going to obtain is going to go to living independently from society, to where I can create my own content, be it video or writing, and not need society to exist. Of course, funds help and are a part of the process of being independent, but that's part of commerce. That's part of energy. That's normal in a day and age where you just can't live anywhere for totally free unless you're going to be homeless and living in the national forest. That is not a desirable outcome, that level of freedom. So I've compromised on a level just enough to meet certain goals and obligations. I actually worked at a restaurant to pay for this shed that I'm in, believe it or not, last year. Between this day, exactly June 3rd, 2016, and September 3rd, September 2016. But going back to the earlier topic about hormonal response, there's an aspect of us, many people, that's just unable to live on our own from society. The loneliness is too great. So some people work their whole lives to obtain the love and the affection from others. And I'm trying to say in a long roundabout way, when you've experienced true loneliness, especially during certain younger years, also known as one's prime years, prime in several different arenas. When you overcome that and you do not self destruct and you recognize your own value and you pull back from certain pleasures of the flesh that most men and women never do, never do. There are certain hardships that most men and women and certain risks that they never take ever one day in their life. Thus, they remain enslaved even if they have a bank account with a certain amount of money and they think that they're free as they wave their American flag on their Harley or whatnot as their country continues to bomb other countries back to the Stone Age. What does it mean to be truly independent? And I just want to keep bringing this up because there's obviously a reason why many of you are subscribing to this channel. Some of you found it through the off grid videos that I've done in the past. Some of you have just been subscribers for a long time. Some of you are concerned about the wars that are happening now and are about to erupt, and who knows what other videos, perhaps relationships. I can tell you what, it is better to be lonely in the forest than entertained by a toxic city. It's better to be a lonely, single, healthy man, to be a unhealthy man in a toxic relationship who's being pleasured by a woman in today's day and age. Okay. And there's a lot of pleasure that comes with being with someone else in the summer months, being in nature, holding someone, two hearts. How many songs do we know about two hearts? I'll save my tears for after this video. But at least I'm happy even when I cry that I still have emotions, that I'm a human being who's still able to feel. And I want to be able to feel my emotions, but I also want that sense of self mastery to never be controlled by my emotions and to have the ability to step back from that and the cravings and the desires. And so, um, for the first time in my life, I've reached this 1 year point, as I've mentioned many times, because it's a milestone that's a first for me and something many people in this world never achieve. Where for a year, I've been able to work for myself, making just enough to do what I do, even during the YouTube ad boycott and months with no money coming in, to make just enough to be able to stay on this land and not live in their matrix. And that is something that is not normally done, combined with this video thing. Who go and lives off the grid and doesn't just, absorb themselves in other things, other relationships, video games, or just gardening, but who actually does videos talking about what's actually happening in society and then not just being about their off grid stuff and their batteries. Who does that? Who does that? What YouTube channels do you know that are off grid that talk about real life and not being in America's biggest cities? Who does that? Despite the fact that YouTube has been around since what, 2005, 2006, I don't think anyone does that. So I have to keep exploring where this independence is going to go, um, and keep publicly exploring how I can take my consciousness while I'm still connected with society and I post news to someone's website just so I can survive on a month to month level. And I'm grateful to even have that. But to pull back more and more as time goes on and to see its reflection in my content, to see how much my content has changed in 10 years since I've made this transition, and caring about what people think about me less and less and less and less and less, and all these people thinking horrible things about me because I don't have a YouTube comment section open when I clearly explained that it's a social experiment to even show people why only talk on a CIA website that was built to surveil us. Why not talk in a more like normal forum like people did 15 years ago or 10 years ago? Like, why be literally rewired by YouTube? It's just a fascinating thing. And this is gonna keep, if I go back, I'm lonely. I need to hear from you. If I don't open my comment section, I'll just never hear from you. Well, then that's going to continue. I don't want your emails. I, I already created the forums. I already created the net. I said, hey, join over at outsideTheBox.vhx. 16 cents per day. Cost of a cup of coffee per month. Well, I'm not worth a cup of coffee per month. You know what? This isn't a conversation I'm interested in having then. At some point, more of you realize that Alex Ansarigaya is worth a cup of coffee. Absolutely. But it's going to take some time. And then again, as time goes on, more of you will unsubscribe because you'll hear something that you really didn't want to hear. You like dialogue and stuff regarding freedom up to a point, till maybe you start hearing me talk about freedom for those people over there from judgment being called terrorists. You have no evidence that some of those people are actually plotting terrorism against you and your family. And I've seen the percentage. I've seen the percentage of my own audience that I thought would have known better get right behind drinking the Donald Trump jungle juice. And then I realized there's no hope. If your own audience will stab you in the face for not humping Donald Trump and calling you a libtard, people that have actually watched you, wow. So, yeah, folks, I guess what you're witnessing is one guy's therapy who doesn't believe in, I don't know, going to a therapist and describing himself as mentally ill because he sees the craziness in society. Instead, I believe that enough of you get this. Enough of you understand the need to be independent from society. That's not schizophrenia. That's not being crazy. There really is writing on the wall. There really is power in being able to step back from the internet for days on end and living without the internet and entertaining yourself with books, as I talked about before, writing as opposed to just doing YouTube videos, exploring how strong your body can be by stepping back from certain addictions to certain foods and certain things and eating certain healthier things on a more regular basis, stepping back from sex addiction, understanding that your loneliness is a biological response to certain things that your body may want to do. There is certainly merit in living your life as a free man or a free woman, whatever the case may be, without being a slave to someone else's expectations of what you should be. And that is so difficult. That is so difficult because we are really wired to want to find our gender counterpart. And it at least is good for me to hear from the opposite sex from time to time that they are going through the same thing somewhere else. That it's not just happening to me here in America in my little neck of Colorado. The question is, how do we, in the coming years, now that we become aware, many of us, men and women, becoming aware for the very, I want to say for the very first time. I mean, I know I've been aware of it for a few years, but other people have become aware of it for the very first time. And at some point, people have been aware of it, this gender imbalance for many years, to come to a place of harmonious understanding and contemplation. I mean, with that, with a calm mind that's not obsessed on its own wounds and traumas, a calm consciousness can come to a sense of clarity as to how to mindfully respond to that. So I want to wrap things up on a stable note by going off grid and separating from much of society. Yes, I'm still exposed to other people, but I'm exposed to a lot less. Um, my energy field is independent from a lot of those that are in major cities, but I got to be responsible enough to not tune in to their madness when I'm on the newswire and on YouTube, and to document my own story while I'm able to document my own story through the written word after spending so many years uh, expressing to you through the free flow spoken word, um, the unique type of lifestyle that I've been living, a lifestyle in which I see very few living. I see men and women, they're in their own little couple world and they're like, we're off gridders and da 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 da, right? But I don't see anybody that's talking about the greater world that they left. That's what's lacking. I'm going to conclude this video now. Perhaps I'll be back more with later. It'd be great to see your support over at outsidethebox.vhx.tv.